I'll call the Planning Commission meeting March 22nd, 2022 to order. Roll call, please. David Chair, who's here? Here.
I don't think microphones are on, so if you
we
could
will start
that.
one more time.
Mayor, your microphone is not working either.
Okay. We will.
No.
Yep. We will call to order Plan Commission meeting, March 22nd, 2022. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Sullivan here.
Gave a chair.
Guzikowski here. O'Donnell here.
Shepherd here.
Okay. Rest of the commissioners are excused. We do have a quorum. That will get us to the approval of minutes, and we will hold those since we do not have a quorum because Commissioner Sullivan is sitting in for Ashley tonight. So they will be held in the next commission meeting. Significant common council actions, Carrie?
Council approved the following: an ordinance amending the official map for a portion of the northeast quarter of section 16, which is the mapped unimproved right-of-way affecting the properties at 1020, 1100, 1150, 1330, and 1340 East Forest Hill Avenue, and 1321R East Drexel Avenue. An ordinance repealing and recreating Chapter 17 zoning code of the municipal code. Congratulations. A resolution approving a certified survey map submitted by David DeSanto, Mod Home LLC, for the property at 10730 South Howell Avenue. Two resolutions approving condominium plats submitted by the residences at Oakview Condominium for the property at 10730 South Howell Avenue. A resolution approving a certified survey map submitted by CR Devco LLC for the properties at 2231 and 1933 West Putes Road, 8843R South 13th Street, and 8950 South 20th Street. A resolution approving a certified survey map submitted by Ryan Jansen, Jansen Bruckner LLC, for the property at 641 East Drexel Avenue, and a resolution approving another certified survey map submitted by Ryan Jansen of Jansen Bruckner LLC for the property at 819R East Drexel Avenue. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. That will move us on to
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Do we have to make a motion to hold the?
Do we got a motion to hold on the minutes, or can I just declare it?
That probably works.
If the commission feels more comfortable making a motion to hold the minutes, that's fine. Otherwise, I think the mayor can declare that this is tabled.
Absolutely. That's fine.
Okay. So we can cover ourselves. No, we can cover ourselves either way. So let's go back and just that way we're covered on both ends. So we'll look for a motion to hold item 3, which is minutes of February 22nd, 2022.
Shepherd moves to hold the minutes of February 22nd.
Actually, that would be March 8th, 2022. That's a typo. I apologize.
I'm sorry.
Oh. Sorry, everyone. March 8th.
Oh,
March 8th.
oh, Mark H. I'm sorry.
Is there a second?
Sullivan seconds.
All those in favor of holding the minutes of March 8th, 2022? Roll call, please.
Sullivan, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Guzikowski, aye. O'Donnell, aye.
Shepherd, aye.
Okay. Board of Housing and Zoning Appeal Actions, there are none. That will get us to our quarterly Park and Recreation Commission actions. Turn that over to Carrie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to keep these brief. They were a little bit lengthy in terms of the background information for commissioner edification. So there was a hold on the recommendation for Common Council adoption of an updated athletic facility rental policy. That was something that was going to be reviewed at the, that was actually adopted at a January 18th meeting, but the Parks Commission wanted some new language in there, and therefore we have a hold on that in order to incorporate some of those items. The Parks and Rec Commission also approved a recommendation for Bob Waka, which is the Board of Public Works and Capital Assets, to approve a 2023 CIP request regarding solar-powered security cameras This will be presented at a future Bob Welcome meeting. There was a hold on a recommendation for common council amendments to section 12.02 of the municipal code regarding operation of remote or radio-controlled toys or devices. The Parks Commission wished to have a little bit more time to research the issue. There were other meeting discussion items that are agendized on the report. If there are any questions, I would be happy to try and answer them. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. Questions, discussion on Parks report and rec? Nothing? Okay. We'll then just keep moving along. That will get us to item 7, new business, and item A, conditions and restrictions for proposed cell tower will be held. So we need a motion to hold that.
Do not need a motion to hold. That was put on hold at the request of the applicant.
Thank you for that clarification, Carrie. That will get us to item 7B, conditions and restrictions, by Ryan Jansen, Jansen Bruckner LLC to rezone and establish a planned unit development on the properties 641 and 819R East Drexel Avenue. And that's Carrie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This was a rezone and planned unit development request that was reviewed at the last Plan Commission meeting and recommended for common council approval. The proposal is to rezone the parcels to RD1, which is 2-family residential within a planned unit development structure. There were CSMs that were approved in order to divide the properties, to allow the current landowners to retain some property. And then these will also be brought back before the Plan Commission for a future review. The condominium plat, master landscape plan approval, if this moves forward, would be 2 of those particular reviews that will be brought back to the Plan Commission for ultimate approval. On the screen right now is the concept development plan. Again, there are a couple of lots that are shown on the plan itself that are not included in the PUD. That in particular would be the 4 lots that are right at the corner. Lots, I believe it's 1 and 2 are being retained by the current landowner, and then lots 3 and 4 are being reserved for future single-family residential lots. And this particular lot that is right along Drexel Avenue is being retained by the existing landowner of that property for future single-family residential. Otherwise, everything that is shown on the screen in the conceptual development plan, with a few minor adjustments that staff is working with the applicant in order to achieve, this is what's being proposed. And for just a reminder, these are the concept elevations for the single-family side-by-side duplex condo situation. These are the models that will be allowed as part of the PUD. There are 2 more models that are forthcoming that will be incorporated into the conditions and restrictions for council consideration. The change has to do with the orientation of the garages as an option to have a side entry. So that'll be something that will be incorporated into the conditions for the next step if this moves forward. Turning down to the conditions and restrictions, section 1 clarifies that the plan unit development only includes the condominium lots, the side-by-side structures. They do not include the single-family residential lots. Section 2 identifies the 4 models, which will be upgraded to 6 once we receive those other 2 models. The development agreement will be required for the public infrastructure, including the roads and the utilities. And then a master landscape plan for the entire development will be required to be reviewed and approved by the Plan Commission. Section 3 states that there shall be a maximum of 33 single-family attached buildings and a maximum of 66 single-family attached units, and each unit shall have an attached garage. Garages are listed in the conditions and restrictions as being per the new zoning code. The zoning code goes into effect tomorrow. And my understanding, after we've had several conversations with the developer, the units were actually designed in order to meet the new code standards. Exterior building materials are also per the new code, and those models would be incorporating those approved materials per the code as well. Those are included in the conditions and restrictions. Since this will be a condominium, there are some there's a section in here under 3D regarding deed restrictions and condominium bylaws. That condo plat with the declaration and bylaws would be brought back before Plan Commission and ultimately Common Council review. Under section 4, those are stating the parking and access requirements. Each residential unit shall have at minimum an attached two-car garage in accordance with the previous section. And parking for additional vehicles on the driveway shall not obstruct the sidewalk or roadway, and driveway width shall not exceed 20 feet at the right-of-way, and that was per the engineering department's comments at the previous meeting. Lighting standards per the new code requirements are included in here as well. Section 6 just states that impact fees are going to be assessed for each unit per the code. Section 7 includes building and parking setbacks. Those building setbacks are per the PUD design and layout itself. Now, we discussed at the previous Plan Commission meeting that there were a couple of units that didn't quite meet the 30-foot rear setback requirement. So therefore, a modification of 5 feet was being requested, and that still is the case with these units. So that is the only setback modification that is being requested as part of the PUD is 25 feet to the rear instead of 30. And we specify in here also the setback requirements to the wetlands, which is 15 feet, 5 of which has to be undisturbed. And that is per the new code. Under section 8, time of compliance, that's a standard 12-month time period in order to start. If that needs to be amended, we can ask that the planning and development be amended. The developer can submit the application for such, or the Common Council can determine that a modification at that time would be allowable. The general development plan plus the models are also included as exhibits to the PUD. And if there are any questions with regard to the conditions and restrictions, I can certainly try and answer them. There is a suggested motion for approval on the screen for Plan Commission consideration. Mr. Mayor.
Great, thank you, Gary. If the applicant's here and they'd like to say a few words, you're more than welcome to come up, or you can wait for any particular questions from the commission. Don't think they're with us, are they? Okay.
The applicant is participating by Zoom. No comments at this time.
Okay, thank you, Gary. We'll go to the commission, starting with Matt.
We have no comments. Our
Okay,
original concerns were addressed.
great. Chris?
I think it looks good and can't wait for them to start.
Okay. Don?
No comments or questions.
Me and Fred?
It looks good to me. I don't see any
Okay.
problem.
I do see the alderman from the district. Is there any comment you want to make at all, Steve, or are you just here to observe?
Just briefly, Mayor, thank you, Alderman Kirkowski. The only comments from any residents I've had regarding this development was potential flooding issues. So I raised that at the last council meeting. I wasn't going to raise it tonight, but that's the only comments I've had, potential flooding issues. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I myself also don't have any comments going forward as, again, Carrie?
Mr. Mayor, just wanted to let the Plan Commission know that I did receive a voicemail from a resident a little bit to the east of this proposed development. Did inform the developer that I received the comment as well. Vehemently opposed to the development due to the presence of wetlands, floodplains, and potential increase in traffic for the development and the increase in traffic seen on Drexel Avenue overall from various developments that were cited in the voicemail. That was the voicemail. I did not have an opportunity to respond to that residents' voicemail, but they are aware of the meeting. And the reason that they did not receive direct notice is because they were outside of their 300-foot notification area, so they found out about it from neighbors who did receive that notice.
Okay. Did I hear you correctly? They're east, isn't that the park?
East and north. So on the north side of Drexel Avenue.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay. Yeah, I myself don't have any concerns neither. The engineering and the flood and the water management will come through engineering through the steps, Gary talked about at council just last week, so. Seeing no further discussion? Motion.
Aldani moves that the Plan Commission recommends that the Common Council adopts the conditions and restrictions as part of the plan unit development submitted by Jansen Bruckner LLC for the properties at 641 and 619R East Drexel Avenue after a public hearing.
Just a correction, it is 819R East Drexel Avenue.
819R East Drexel Avenue, as amended.
Seconds.
Roll call, starting with you, Matt.
Sullivan, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Aldani, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Okay. Moving on, gets us to 7C, consideration of conditional use permit requested and submitted by Jacob Dorse, Leo's Playland LLC, doing business as Central Bark Oak Creek for an amendment to the existing conditional use permit to allow up to 80 dogs within an existing facility at any given time on the property at 1075 North Branch Drive. Jack?
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a request to amend the conditional use permit at the property shown on the screen. The current zoning of the property is M1 Manufacturing District. The applicant is requesting to amend the conditional use permit originally approved in 2006 to allow a maximum of 80 dogs on the site at any given time. Currently, 43 dogs are allowed on site. To accommodate for the proposed increase in dogs, the tenant Central Bark repurposed the break room and trainer's office for additional kennel space. While the applicant is requesting a maximum of 80 dogs, the facility will have capacity to fit 85 dogs. Dogs will be housed in cage banks of varying sizes. Cage banks are stackable stainless steel kennel spaces. There will be a total of 80 cage banks. Additionally, there will be 5 luxury dens to house larger breeds of dogs. As plan commissioners may recall, in 2018, a similar conditional use amendment for an increase in boarding capacity was passed in 2018 for Camp Bow Wow. In that amendment, Camp Bow Wow utilized more traditional kennel spaces, not cage banks like the Central Park proposal. The cage bank kennels and luxury den kennels do meet the city's kennel spacing requirements found in Chapter 7 of the Municipal Code. And hours of operation, the number of employees will remain the same for Central Park. On this screen, you'll see the proposed configurations. These are the proposed cage banks. The applicant intends to utilize 2 different sizes, 3 B-size kennels and 2 E-size kennels. The B-size kennels will be used to house smaller breeds of dogs, and they measure approximately 24 inches in length by 25 inches in width and 22.5 inches in height. The E-kennels will be used to house medium-sized breeds of dogs. The E-kennels measure approximately 36 inches long by 25 inches wide and 31 inches high. Both kennels and the proposed configurations are shown at the image on the right. These measurements do need to be confirmed by the applicant, however. And these are the proposed luxury dens. These measure 3 foot by 7 foot. And here's the proposed floor plan showing the reconfigured spaces. With that being said, there is a suggested motion for the Plan Commission to consider.
Great, thank you, Jack. Before I go to the commission, Central Bark, any comments, or you want to wait on questions?
We'll wait a minute.
Okay, thank you. We'll start off. Chris, you want to start us?
I don't have any, comments or concerns.
Okay.
This looks good.
Don?
No, nothing for me either.
Fred?
Yeah, I just have a question about parking for people that are dropping their dogs off. Do you have parking identified? So that
Sir, we'll need your name and address for the minutes.
My home address,
You can use the business.
Jacob Dorst, 1075B West North Branch Drive, Oak Creek, Wisconsin, 53154. We have a pretty big parking lot. It holds a good number of cars just outside the front entrance.
Oh, it is identified parking spaces for people
Yes.
and
Yep.
handicap also?
I believe, yes. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Fred. Matt?
I have no questions or comments, thank you.
No, my only comment is, we try to do consistency here, and we had a another doggy daycare come through here a couple years back, and we really struggled with the dogs, and we went back and forth and the whole thing, and this really fits consistency with what our decision was concerning the other one, square footage and number of dogs, things of that nature. So, very happy with it being consistent, so.
Mr.
Nothing
Mayor,
further.
just want to let
Yes.
everybody know that there are some amended conditions and restrictions that are part of the conditional use permit. They've been updated a little bit from what was approved back in 2006 to kind of more conform to what our standard conditions and restrictions document is. So under 3F, that states that no more than 80 dogs will be at the facility at any given time. If there is a request for 85 dogs per the information that was presented by Jack, that would be something to amend in your suggested motion, and that would be incorporated into the conditions and restrictions. No changes to the hours, no changes to the building or parking setbacks. Lighting is just in conformance with code requirements as amended. Parking requirements in accordance with code as amended. The duration of the conditional use permit is 10 years, and we've seen that as kind of a standard that we are proposing for quite a few conditional use permits. Just letting everybody know that those are incorporated into the conditions and restrictions that are for your consideration.
Thank you, Carrie. Very good points. Appreciate that. If there's any further discussion on that?
Yeah, so the new motion for 85 dogs would have to be read as 85 dogs?
That is correct.
Okay. All right, we'll go to motion.
Seeker moves that the planning commission recommends that the common council approve a conditional use permit amendment to allow a maximum of 85 dogs on site as part of an existing animal boarding kennel dog daycare facility with outdoor exercise area on the property at 1075 West North Branch Drive after a public hearing and subject to conditions and restrictions.
Aldani seconds.
Roll call beginning with me. Aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Aldani, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Sullivan, aye.
Okay. Thank you very much. That will move us on to item 7D, and that's a review of site building and related plans submitted by the Gable Apartments, Burke Properties, for an accessory building on the property at 7730R South Howell Avenue. And Jack's going to take that one as well.
All right, thank you again. This is a request for a single-story accessory building on the property shown on the screen. The accessory building will be a 30-foot by 40-foot single-story garage used to store maintenance vehicles and equipment. The location meets all setbacks and will be designed to match existing buildings on the property. The proposed site plan shows the garage on the southeastern portion of the parcel. Due to this location, there will be no landscaping required. On the screen are the elevations for the proposed garage. Although the heights of the walls at 10 feet were shown, the overall height to the top of the hip roof was not specified. This cannot exceed 17 feet as measured from grade. The building is proposed to be constructed with either gray vinyl or gray hardy plank siding and gray tar shingles to match the existing buildings. Both vinyl and hardy plank are not listed as approved primary building materials in the municipal code. With the intent to match the existing buildings on the property, staff do have no concerns with the use of hardy plank. However, a 3/4 majority approval by the Plan Commission will be required to use these materials. With that being said, there is a suggested motion for the Plan Commission's consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jack. Before we go, once again, I'll ask if the applicant wants to say anything or wait on questions. Okay, I'm getting an indication they will wait in case there's any questions. We'll start it off. Don, you want to start us this time?
No, I have no questions. Seems like a simple, reasonable ask.
Okay. Fred?
No questions.
Matt?
No questions or concerns?
Chris?
No questions.
I don't have any questions on the structure or anything. My question is really for you, Carrie. With the Hardy Board, we need a 3/4 majority to approve that building material. Can we do it with the existing commission here tonight? or is it 3/4 of the 9?
It's 3/4 majority of the plan commissioners present at the meeting.
Thank you for that clarification. With that being said, we'll look for a motion.
Guzekowski makes a motion that the plan commission approve the site and building plans submitted by the Gables Apartments Burke Properties for the property at 7730R South Howell Avenue with the following conditions. 1, that all relevant code requirements remain in effect. 2, that the height of the building does not exceed 17 feet as measured from grade. 3, that all use of hardy plank or vinyl siding, plan commission to determine for exterior building materials is approved. Do we need to discuss that?
Yes, you need to make that determination.
Yeah, we'll call that out as hardy board, correct?
If the plan commission wishes to approve of hardy plank, that needs to be in the motion. If it's vinyl, that needs to be in the motion.
Okay,
As hardy or vinyl?
well, as per staff report, I would support the staff on the hardy board plank.
Right.
Come on up. Need your name and address, please, for the minutes.
Hello, my name is Zoran Atlia. I'm with the Burke Properties, and our main office address is 622 North Water Street, Suite 200, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53202. I just had a quick question. Most of the subdivision, all the buildings that we actually have on site are vinyl siding. So
They are.
yeah. So the only reason why I asked, I mean, I know I talked to Carrie and, she's mentioned that most of the approvals for new buildings is the hardy plank, but we just wanted to match the existing buildings. And we will have the same corner boards that are on the other buildings, and that kind of goes with the hardy plank. So we figure if we can get the vinyl, that would match all the other buildings.
Okay. As we are in the middle of a motion, the motion's been read as either or. Can we leave it to, we have to pick?
Mhm.
Okay. You want to,
Change the motion
boy, we're right in the middle of a
to
motion.
stipulate either one.
You'll have to stipulate one or the other, but we really should. Okay, make the motion and then we'll do, in the second, we'll do the discussion before the vote.
If it makes it cleaner, Alderman Guzekowski can withdraw his motion and then move with the amended.
Okay, so just withdraw your motion.
Sure. Guzekowski withdraws his motion as stated.
Okay, before we motion, discussion of commissioners, hardy board plank, vinyl to match existing buildings.
I'm okay with the vinyl. If it's existing and matching, I see no reason why they shouldn't use it.
I would agree. I was following staff with the hardy board, but that's okay. Fred?
Yeah, I agree with the vinyl. I think it matches the rest of the facility.
Okay. Matt?
Vinyl's fine.
Okay.
I agree. It's, I'm in there often with my daughter living there, so it's vinyl pretty much everywhere.
Okay. Please restate, in the next motion, specify the vinyl. Okay. We'll go for a motion to try to get this right here. So, okay, motion, please.
Guzekowski makes a motion that the plan commission approves site and building plans submitted by the Gables Apartment Burke Properties for the property at 7730R South Howell Avenue with the following conditions. 1, that all relevant code requirements remain in effect. 2, that the height of the building does not exceed 17 feet as measured from grade. 3, that the use of vinyl siding for exterior building materials is approved. And 4, that all detailed revised plans are submitted in digital format to the Department of Community Development prior to submission of permit applications.
Seifert seconds.
Okay, roll call, beginning with Chris.
Guzekowski, aye.
Aldani, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Sullivan, aye.
Gavich, aye. Thank you, sir. Good luck. Thanks for bringing that up as well. Appreciate the clarification. That will get us to item E, review of site and related plans submitted by AST Learn-It, doing business as Wisconsin Early Autism Project for a proposed fence on the property at 140 East Rawson Avenue. Carrie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a property that has 2 out of 3 multi-tenant manufacturing buildings on the property, and it is part of a conditional use permit that is being amended. There are several uses that have applied for conditional uses on the property. In this particular one, this is regarding, or in relation to the conditional use permit that was granted for AST Learn doing business as the Early Autism Project. This is for a fenced outdoor gross motor area, essentially an outdoor play area for their clients. The CUP for the clinic and outdoor rec area were approved in October of 2020. Those conditions and restrictions were included as part of your packets for review. And as part of those conditions and restrictions, Plan Commission approval was required for the outdoor area in terms of the location, materials for the enclosure, and for screening. On the screen right now is a copy of the original site plan showing a general area for the tenant space. So you can see that the gray boxes are highlighting the tenant's interior space. The yellow box was the general area for the outdoor area. And on the screen right now is kind of the revised fence play area for Plan Commission consideration. Same leased tenant space in the same location. We just have a couple of different dimensions now. 50 by 20 by 6 foot tall white vinyl fence is proposed, and that vinyl fence material is kind of a concept is there on the screen for you. And as far as the guardrail picture is concerned, that's an example of a guardrail that they are proposing to place around the fence on the north and west side in order to kind of give that a little bit extra protection, so that the concerns that were raised at the previous review during the conditional use permit review gives a little bit more protection to that area, you know, just in case. There are no other changes that are being requested as part of this review, so this is really just a matter of approving the fence for the area. There's no additional screening that would be required other than the fence at this time. It is behind a screen wall that's existing, and there are no other neighbors that would be seeing this to the north or to the west. With that in mind, there is a suggested motion on the screen for Plan Commission consideration. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. And once again, I'll invite the applicant up if they so choose, or they can wait on questions. Would anybody like to come up, or you just want to wait on questions? You're indicating they'll wait if there's any commission questions. So we'll go to the commission. Fred, would you start us off, please?
I don't see any problem with that. Looks good to me.
Okay. Yeah. Chris?
No concern.
Don?
No questions.
I myself have none as well. Kind of went over this before. And again, want to thank you for the good work you're doing there. Very much needed. So, nice job. Okay, guys, looking for a motion there on E.
Oldani moves that the Plan Commission approve site and related plans submitted by AST Learn-It, DBA Wisconsin Early Autism Project for the property at 140 East Rawson with the following conditions: that all relevant code requirements remain in effect, that all conditions of existing conditional use permit remain in effect, that all revised plans are submitted in digital format for review and approved by the Department of Community Development prior to the submission of permit applications.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call, beginning with Don.
Oldani, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Sullivan, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Okay. Very good. Good luck, everybody. That will get us to F, and that is consideration of a conditional use permit submitted by Pablo Davlos Alonso Unlimited Athletic Club LLC for a conditional use permit for an indoor commercial recreation facility known as a fitness center in the existing multi-tenant industrial building on the property at 140 East Rawson Avenue. Carrie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're staying with the same property and we're staying within the same building, I believe. So this is a proposal to amend the conditional use permit on the property for the 5th time. The reason I say 5th is because we have several conditional use permits that are affecting the property, and we keep amending the same ones so that everybody is aware of exactly what's allowed on the property. The beauty of that is that all of the uses are in one document, so if there are any concerns about that, we just keep adding on a new ordinance number. This is the second indoor commercial recreation facility as part of that conditional use, so that's why in the conditions and restrictions, it's all kind of spelled out and separated by users. So we are in the same building. We're actually just north of the Early Autism Project lease space in Building B. And this is for Unlimited Athletic Club, who will be providing personal training, gym, group classes, and gym memberships. They are anticipating only 1 employee at this time and up to 20 in the building at any one time, or in the lease space, I should say. Hours of operation, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week. Peak is anticipated between 3 and 5 p.m. Now, the access is via Rawson Avenue for the entire development, and we have discussed parking for this particular development in the past. The development itself was intended to provide somewhere between 270 and 290 parking stalls. It kind of ebbs and flows a little bit with exactly how the building's laid out, exactly how the parking was arranged. Building A, I believe it was Building A, one of the buildings on the far west side, whether it be A, B, or C, I can't remember, that building has not been constructed. So the parking that is on the site right now is being shared by the 2 buildings. And as part of a previous review, the landowner had indicated that there were 95 parking stalls assigned to Building B, and there were 95 parking stalls assigned to the other building. While lease spaces were kind of allotted certain stalls, there was an opportunity for both parking areas to be utilized by both buildings if there were non-conflicting hours of operation for the users. For this particular tenant, there's assigned 7 stalls and they can utilize up to 21 stalls. Now, whether or not that's during peak hours or if they're allowed to use parking stalls on the property that are just available when other users or other tenants are no longer there, that's something that would actually have to be managed and coordinated with the landowner or the property management company. The minimum parking requirements for an indoor recreation facility like a gym, 1 stall for every 4 patrons and 1 for every peak employee. So that's about 6. Now, whether they will have to somehow work out something with the landlord, if they somehow, increase employees, or if they just, go gangbusters and they end up having more memberships than they anticipated, that's something, again, that would have to be coordinated by the landlord and the property management company to ensure that there's enough parking for everybody. On the screen is just an idea of what the overall space layout looks like at this point, about 5,600 square feet for the lease. And on the screen is the suggested motion for consideration. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. And once again, I'll invite the applicant if they choose, do a brief synopsis. Anybody like to? They're indicating no, they will wait. So we'll go to the commission. Fred, would you start us, please?
No questions at this time.
Okay, Matt?
I have none, thank you.
Chris?
I have none either.
Don?
None for me, thanks.
No, none for me either. I guess my only comment would be, as Carrie stated, for building owners, maybe, we want to get this together so we ain't coming back here on conditional uses all the way around and go to a different zoning on it.
It's a potential conversation that we can have with the property owners to determine whether or not the current zoning district is still valid for the users that they seem to be attracting, or whether or not a change might be more appropriate. We could have that conversation offline. Just turning to the conditions and restrictions, just so everybody is aware of what's changing under section 3A. 2 clinics, 2 indoor recreation facilities for tender touch therapy and Unlimited Athletic Club are allowed in addition to the 2 outdoor recreation areas. Under B, that's separating building C for tender touch therapy, their clinic and outdoor recreation area, and their indoor recreation facility. Building B, identifying AST Learn, the Wisconsin Early Autism Project's clinic and outdoor recreation area hours. And then Building B for Unlimited Athletic Club, the indoor commercial recreation facility, Monday through Sunday, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. All other conditions and restrictions are unchanged as part of the existing conditional use permit.
Okay. As long as we're all under understanding and there's no further discussion, motion?
Seifert moves that the planning commission recommends that the common council approve a conditional use permit amendment for an indoor commercial recreational facility fitness center within a portion of the existing multi-tenant industrial building on the property at 140 East Rawson Avenue after a public hearing and subject to conditions and restrictions.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call, beginning with you, Fred.
Seifert, aye.
Sullivan, aye.
Kevich, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Ladani, aye.
Okay. Good luck. That will get us to item G, and that is a master landscape plan review. Review Phase 1 Master Landscape Plan submitted by Katie Monchos, Grinka for the Lake Shore Commons Traditional Neighborhood Development Plan Unit Development at 4001 East Lake Vista Parkway and 9300 South Fifth Avenue, 4200 East Lake Vista Boulevard. Carrie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is part of the Lakeshore Commons development, and as part of the PUD conditions and restrictions, they are required to submit a master landscape plan and guidelines for the common areas, the streetscapes, and also for the 1, 2, and 3 family villa concepts, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. These are required prior to the issuance of building permits, and just as a reminder, individual development sites outside of the 1, 2, and 3 unit villas will be required to submit their own landscape plans that will be in conformance with the master landscape plan that is approved by the Plan Commission. The 1, 2, and 3 family villas are not subject to Plan Commission review, which is why there is a requirement in the PUD for the master landscape plan and guidelines to address those kind of generalized lot landscape treatments. On the screen right now is the proposed landscape plan for the entire PUD, and we'll be going over certain areas just briefly to give you an idea of what the landscape plans are covering. So in Area A, only going to highlight a couple of places. The bioretention areas, those stormwater treatment areas, all pretty much have the same kind of treatment, so I'm not going to go over those. Some of the street areas are just for trees in conformance with what is required per the engineering department and the DPW requirements. So street trees are not going to be reviewed in depth as part of my review. Want to highlight a couple of areas, particularly along those public pathways, spine, if you will, that kind of goes through the center of the development, connecting north-south to the clubhouse area, which is in the next agenda item. So on the right-hand side of the screen, that gives you an idea of what 2 areas of the northern portion of that public walkway it would have on either side of it. So there are a couple of areas that incorporate something like a raised garden bed, and that those areas are still kind of being programmed at this time, but this is accounting for those places and still providing for landscaping on either side of the walkway. Following south, again, the same walkway treatments pretty much throughout. On the bend here is where they are proposing to have a common dog park. So there is a fenced area that would be proposed in that northern section there. Also still reserving some areas for planter beds, for seating areas, etc. Landscape plan, area C, still continuing with the common walkway area, kind of terminating at the clubhouse area. And then I just wanted to call your attention over on the left-hand side of the screen where there's a small box around just a kind of a call-out area. That has been identified, we believe, although it's not identified in the landscape plan, possibly an area for a sign as part of the development. Now, the master signage plan will be coming back before the plan commission at a later date, but this is kind of calling out an area, a potential area for a sign, although anywhere that a sign would be, the landscape treatment would be pretty much the same. Landscape plan area D, calling out another area for one of the public amenities that is along the public path, as well as along the just the public areas in general. Again, another potential location for a sign. Landscape plan area E, not much going on here because this is on the southern side of the existing Lake Vista Park. That landscaping is not incorporated as part of this, but you do see 2 bioretention areas, and there are some amenities that are just off the screen here that are to the south in landscape plan area F. The call out area on the kind of the northwest corner of the image on the screen, still slightly being revised. City's working with the developer to determine exactly where the amenities are going to be, so that might change slightly. Again, bioretention area is pretty much the same kind of treatments. Street trees shown throughout. And then finally, landscape plan area G. This is where the 1, 2, and 3 single family villa concepts are. So these are 1, 2, and 3 attached, single family, but in an attached unit concept. So these are pretty much incorporating just street trees and then bioretention treatments as well. But this is a big concentration of where those individual, I guess, generalized lot treatments should be as part of the update to the master landscape plan. With that in mind, there is a suggested motion for approval on the screen for Plan Commission consideration. Now, this is slightly changed from what was on or included in your packets due to the fact that we are still recommending, per the PUD, that we incorporate the landscape areas for the single family and what's called out as multifamily villa. That's the 1, 2, and 3 family attached concepts, because those do not come back to the Plan Commission. So those do need to be part of the master landscape plan at some point. And because we have a revision, then the standard kind of revised plan requirement to come back to the Community Development Department. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. Before we go, we'll see if the applicant would like to come up, indicating no. Boy, I'm just running the table on that tonight. We're just blowing right through here. So with that, we'll go right to the commission. Matt.
We don't have any concerns. They actually addressed a lot of our issues and concerns in regards to our environmental protection out there. So we appreciate those efforts from the developer.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Chris?
Nothing for me either.
Okay, Don?
No, nothing for me.
Okay, Fred?
No questions.
No, I just want to, compliment staff and the applicant for working together. There's a lot going on down there. There's a lot of green going down there as well. People say we got a lot of development going on. We're requiring a lot of green and a lot of trees down there, which, quite frankly, never existed before. So, appreciate all the efforts going forward, and also, working, with our staff to identify the single family, the multifamily, and the villa type housings going forward. Appreciate that.
Now, to clarify, that might be in the guidelines, but the plans themselves should just have at least a concept showing what we're looking for each of those. Because the master landscape plan just doesn't show it on a case-by-case basis, and we understand those lot layouts, they may change slightly. Just need to make sure that we still have treatments for each of those layouts. And they can be generalized just so that, whatever gets placed on those, what will end up being condo lots. Just make sure that we have something to refer to, so that it's not just, here's your lot and there's no landscaping whatsoever that will be required or anything on that. Obviously, that's not the intent of the developer, that's not the intent of the city, but want to make sure that we have a visual to go along with guidelines.
Great. Thank you for the clarification, Carrie. So if there's no further discussions or questions, motion, please.
Guzekowski makes a motion that the plan commission approves the proposed Lakeshore Commons Master Landscape Guide and Master Landscape Plan submitted by Katie Manachos. Close or no? Manakis. Rinka for the properties at 4005 East Lake Vista Parkway, 9116 South Fifth Avenue, 9300 South Fifth Avenue, subject to the following conditions. One, that the plans are amended to incorporate the landscape area for single family and multifamily villa housing types per the PUD. And two, that revised plans are submitted in digital format for review and approval by the Department of Community Development prior to submission of permit applications.
Hold on, seconds.
Roll call, beginning with Matt.
Sullivan, aye.
David, try.
Guzekowski, aye.
Hold on, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Okay, that will get us to H, and that's plan review of site building and related plans submitted by Renka again for the proposed Lakeshore Commons Clubhouse outdoor pool and associated parking lot located at 4005 East Lake Vista Parkway. Carrie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're still sticking with Lakeshore Commons, and this is part of the traditional neighborhood development PUD. The proposal is for the clubhouse area and only a portion of it. The building itself, the pool, the patios, and the parking area. There is an area reserved on the west side for future ball courts and a playground. And if we turn our attention to the site plan, right in the center, and that was a strategic location to serve the entire development. That's the area of the proposed clubhouse area. It is part of phase one, which includes the public infrastructure, multiple housing types, and associated amenities. This is a roughly 4,654 square foot clubhouse. We did not include on the screen the floor plan, but that was included in your packets. And you can see that there's parking on the north, clubhouse to the south, swimming pool to the west, and there are two patios. One is considered a private patio that's attached to the clubhouse, kind of separated a little bit by a glass and aluminum railing system, and then a public patio that would have a covered area with string lights. The parking lot includes 11 parking stalls. There is no code minimum for clubhouses per se. So we did take a look at the fact that this is in the center of the development. It is intended to be accessed via walking paths, via the sidewalks, and there is on-street parking that is adjacent to this. So that's something that we are comfortable with in terms of just having the single parking area. However, vegetative screening is required for that parking area per the PUD and per code. So the landscape plans that were submitted showed a couple of trees. We are requiring that at least some screening plants be incorporated along the public street area. So that would be something that would be installed and maintained at a minimum height of 3 feet per code. Setbacks appear to be met for the proposed clubhouse itself as well as the parking area. There's no setback requirement for the pool. We do also recommend adding bike racks since this is going to be an area that would be accessed by alternative methods of transportation, walking, biking, via electrical scooters or, other differently abled people, skates, however. We do want to make sure that we are incorporating areas for people to place those. And I believe there actually is one bike rack that is located on the screen, but making sure that we have enough for the area, because even though this is just for the clubhouse in the eastern portion, there might be additional opportunities for bike racks on the whole site itself. Exterior building materials for the we'll go into landscape plans real quick. So we do have a couple of areas that we want to talk about with the landscape plans before we go into building materials. So on the north side, they are showing some bushes. That's kind of buffering to one of the public streets on the north. And then there are 2 trees that are shown on here, but again, those are the 2 areas that we want to make sure we beef up a little bit so that they are screening the parking a little bit more from the main north-south public street through the development. There is a trash enclosure that we'll be talking about in a little bit, and some additional landscaping around that as well. And then in the yellow, that's around the pool. The pool is going to be enclosed by a fence as well, but the landscaping around it softens it a bit, provides a little bit of a buffer and a little bit of a nicer amenity for those who are using the pool and patio areas. And then finally, surrounding the building, some landscaping is proposed at the base, and kind of stretching out into the public lawn area. Now we'll talk about the exterior building materials for the clubhouse, and we are looking at 4-sided architecture. So the PUD requires high-quality building materials, and those high-quality building materials are spelled out quite specifically. What's proposed for the building are brake metal panels, fiber cement panel siding, and those are in black and tan wood look, aluminum storefronts, thin brick masonry veneer, board form finished concrete, and that's really just for a couple of areas where the elevation changes a bit, showing a little bit of the foundation is the word I was looking for, but incorporating that board form so that we don't have that blank concrete wall that we talked about with the apartment buildings. The entire building will be incorporating a standing seam metal roof. Now, thin brick is one of those materials that is called out in the elevations. However, thin brick was not included in the PUD as an approved material. Therefore, we have to go by what code requires, and that is standard modular brick. So that will have to meet the roughly 3.5, 4-inch depth requirement per code. We do not allow thin brick. The pool will be enclosed by an aluminum picket fence, and then we talked about how the patio area, this is the elevation for the patio area, includes that glass and aluminum railing system. Getting into the renderings, giving you an idea of what the building itself is going to look like, 360 for you. This is the southeast corner, northeast corner, full east elevation. So this is what would be seen from the main north-south public road. This is the entrance. This is the north elevation showing you that patio area, which is private, extending out into the public patio area, which is just beyond, and the pool area. Now, we will need a couple of landscape plan revisions with regard to planting details, which for some reason, I think there was an error on the file because the landscape details, we could see just an outline of where they should be in the chart, but there were no details included. And then, of course, for the screening and some other areas that were identified in the report. One thing about the trash enclosure that's proposed in the parking lot, location is fine, screening is fine. However, as with other trash enclosures that we've required in the city, they need to be constructed of masonry materials. We cannot allow for wood or fiber cement materials to be utilized as part of the trash enclosures. Now, why is that? We have already experienced at least one enclosure fire with regard to the materials that were used, and that was in recent enough memory that we have been requiring masonry from here on, and in fact, code does require masonry to match the building. So we are going to be requiring that here as well. While we are recommending against having wood or wood products or fiber cement products for the gates, there's a little less concern for that as opposed to the enclosure itself. So that'll be something that we would look for as a revision to the plans. There is a suggested motion, one of two, on the screen for Plan Commission consideration. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. And as usual, if the applicant would like to say something, you're more than welcome.
Thank you. Katie Menakis, Rinka, 756 North Milwaukee Street, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. As far as the thin brick material goes, I know we worked closely with staff to get the brick material listed. The intention was never to be full-size bricks. We have a sample here. We have just installed it in another project. It's a quality item that we use and that has no issues with maintenance and longevity of use. We'd like a consideration to use the product.
You're welcome to show it to commissioners and they can discuss.
So staff's question, since that was not included in the PUD as being specifically thin, is what are the dimensions?
Guys, we'll need you on the mic and we'll need your name and address as well.
So, Carl Granrinka, 756 North Milwaukee Street, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53202. That's a thin veneer brick. It's about 1 inch to 1.25 inches in depth. It'll go about 2.5 to 3 inches tall, 12 inches long. It'll go across almost all the elevations of the clubhouse.
Okay. Okay, is that it, Katie, or anything more?
That's all.
Okay, thanks. We'll go to the commission. Chris, you want to start us?
I am not opposed to the thin brick. We just need to make sure we're adding dimensions in. Is that right, Carrie?
Staff's concern is that there's nothing in the PUD that allows for thin brick. Now, I understand what the intentions were. But unfortunately, since there's nothing in the PUD that changes that particular code requirement, I do not know that we have the ability to reduce the requirement to about 1/3 of what is required under code. So I would say that we eliminate condition number 2 in favor of having staff work with the applicant in order to see what needs to happen, whether that's a PUD amendment or whether we can find some other way of getting to a mutual agreement.
If we change it to, staff, number 2 to staff working with the applicant, will that eventually have to come back in some way, shape or form to the planning commission?
Only if the plan commission requires it.
So then working with you would mean you would be able to give the final approval on that?
We would find a way to make we would find a way to come to a mutual agreement on the plans.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. I'm just kind of wondering if we're gonna see it again.
Only if you require it.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
I'm in agreement with staff making the decision.
Yeah,
Address for planning department.
okay. My only question, obviously, we're kind of hung up here on the brick. So come on up, Katie, you're gonna try to convince me or
Sure.
change my mind on my question here, so go ahead.
Sure. Just in general, we like to keep the material descriptions pretty generic, giving us flexibility to make the project fit within budget. Currently, this building is very expensive. We used a lot of restraint in some ways to make it kind of the gem, the heart of the whole project. So being a small building with amenities, we had to make some decisions to make sure that we fit within budget. Everyone knows what's happening with construction costs right now. So this would be a way to make the project more feasible. So we hope that you consider that as an option.
Okay, thank you. No, and I respect that, and again, I respect staff. So my question really goes to Carrie. If we allow the brick to 1 inch by 2.5, 3.5, whatever the heck it is, in the PUD, does that affect all the residents' brick as well because it's under the PUD, or is this specific to this clubhouse as the one exception?
Now, the PUD had a materials call out, and it just said brick. Now, without a specification saying what the dimensions are for the allowed brick, we have to defer to code. Code requires 4 inch. So that's a consideration for everybody to kind of keep in mind. This wasn't, and the materials were called out for residential versus non-residential in the PUD itself. Now, there was a materials board, but again, unless we have something that specifies that there is a modification from the code requirement, if we didn't have the code requirement, it would be fine, because it's brick, right? It's a brick veneer. But we have a code requirement. So until that code requirement is modified by the PUD itself, we're beholden to what code says. Put a little asterisk on there, because what we're going to try and do is find a mutually agreed upon plan, okay? Whether that requires a PUD amendment or whether that requires some looking at what the new code allows and seeing if we can have some flexibility within that. That's something that we're just going to have to explore. I can't make any compromises right now. I can't make any recommendations or promises, but what I can do is say, we'll look into it and see what we can come up with in terms of what needs to happen. So I'm still recommending that we strike 2 as stated, and we'll just work it out.
Okay, I'm fine with you, and this is just my fear that if we just allow it to fly here, and it affects the residences here at Lakeshore Commons, then we get to what we've seen today with those condos, and they come in and they go, by the way, it worked there, why not for me?
So,
and I always preach about consistencies. So I am fine with staff as well. I just kind of wanted to put that out there for you.
And whether, it may have to come back as a PUD amendment. I'm not guaranteeing that it won't. What I'm saying is, because there's this request, and because there's a conflict, let us try and figure out a way to get to neutral.
Okay, and I'm with the commissioners. I mean, I trust you, and I have faith with the applicant as well that we can find a means to an end to this. I just want to be consistent as we go forward, and we're getting some nice residential proposals going on throughout the city that, we're being consistent. That's all, and fair.
And I don't believe that there was any brick that was incorporated on the previously reviewed and approved traditional multifamily and the 8 and 6 unit townhomes. I believe that was fiber cement, metal panel, and other materials. Okay. I don't believe there was brick involved. So that whatever ends up being the decision that we come to, the agreement that we come to, whatever that ends up being, that shouldn't affect the approvals that are already in place.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. Otherwise, my only comment is, very nice looking facility. I like the location of it. I think it's going to be a great amenity for down there as well. So,
I have only one other concern. It's a bicycle parking area. You've got several hundred residents in the facility, and you probably have about 100 kids. And how do you think they're going to get to the pool? They're going to end up taking a bike most times. So I think that you need to take that into consideration and take a good look at it, because I do feel that kids aren't going to walk, they're going to ride. So you may have a problem down the road.
Good point. I know we are short of bike racks here in Town Square as well at one point. Katie?
Carrie alluded to, that we do have a location for bicycle storage right in the center of the plan. We can reassess and see if that will satisfy the amount of tenants or the owners in the area. But the multi-use path would be, pedestrians, vehicles, bicycles, kind of a combination of all, especially because it's a walkable community. So we think that what we've provided is ample for the development.
In time, not here for conversation, but I'd love to see a bubbler's bike set up at Town Square, the high school, Lakeshore Commons, and points like that as well. I think that'd be a neat amenity for the city going forward.
Okay.
So, okay. Any other further discussion, questions? Yeah, it looks like you're studying kind of hard there, anything? All right. Don?
So, Carrie, to be clear on number 2, we're not necessarily eliminating, we're replacing it with a statement that they're going to continue to work on the brick veneer, correct?
Trying to think of a way to craft that so that it gets at what we're trying to say.
I wrote basically, applicant works with staff on an acceptable exterior brick veneer.
Yeah, that's, I'm not sure that's the way we want to go in terms of a condition. Give me 1 second.
You know, I could leave it out temporarily.
Temporarily.
And this,
That's it's out.
yeah, no, staff make the decision rather than put anything in.
So any other discussion to break up the uncomfortable silence?
Fred was just saying, why couldn't we just take it out?
That's what, Carrie mentioned earlier.
Jack, what's your thoughts? Anything?
Not at the moment.
Okay, I was looking to
development.
fill a little more space in that in time, but that's okay.
Big wind up for no pitch.
So we are moving right along. And again, this is, I mean, the way we're moving through this, these are some big ticket items. This is a credit to our staff and the work they put in previous to these planning meetings, that things can go as quickly as they do. A lot goes in, not just on this, but, you know, we went through the doggy daycare and the whole thing, and it's really a credit to our staff working forward on how quickly we can go in the limited number of questions we have, and how well prepared commissioners are coming into this. So kudos to you.
So what I've included on, as a suggested motion, condition number 2, is a little bit more vague, and that's intentional because I want to see whether or not the code that's in effect tomorrow might be a little bit more conducive to what the proposal is. And if not, we'll talk about what the options are for, you know, amending the plans or amending the PUD or coming to another way of getting at neutral. Is that clear and vague enough for the Plan Commission?
Yeah, I'm good with it. I mean, you guys write the conditions anyway, so if you would've came with this as is, we, be quite honest, wouldn't have known any better anyway, so I'm good with it like that.
Mhm. Yeah, normally we don't like to craft on the fly, but sometimes it's necessary, and
Mhm.
we're lucky,
But at this
Carrie
time,
always gets it done, so.
because it could affect the whole development.
Yeah. So, any other further questions, discussion? Okay, seeing none, motion then.
Well, Donnie moves that the Plan Commission approves the site and building plan submitted by Katie Menakis Rinka for the clubhouse and associated amenities on the property at 4005 East Lake Vista Parkway with the following conditions. 1, that all relevant code requirements and conditions of the traditional neighborhood development plan unit development remain in effect. 2, that the external building materials meet the code and PUD requirements. 3, that the landscaping plan is revised as necessary for compliance with the PUD requirements in the master landscape design guide and submitted for review before the Plan Commission prior to submission of all building permit applications. 4, that all mechanical equipment, transformers, and utility boxes, ground building and rooftop shall be screened from view. 5, that trash enclosure be conducted of masonry materials to match the building. 6, that all revised plans, site building, landscape, etc., are submitted in digital format for the review of the Department of Community Development prior to the submission of building permit applications.
Seifert seconds.
Okay, they can sort that out in the minutes, but we do have a second. Motion starting with myself voting, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Hold aye.
Seifert, aye.
Sullivan, aye.
Okay, I want to thank everybody for coming out. Appreciate your time and attention, and we had really good participation all the way around. Do appreciate it. I want to thank you to staff, IT in particular, engineering, and planning as well. This is a lot of stuff, and as I said earlier, they make life a lot easier on commissioners, by the pre-prep they do going forward. That's a lot of work with the applicants going forward, so, do appreciate that. Carrie, Jack, and the rest of the crew. Thank you all. Coming up, we're getting towards the Easter season, the Celebrations Commission will have an Easter egg hunt, and the Easter Bunny will be out at Abendschein Park, I believe, April 9th from 10 a.m. to noon. So, please take your little ones out there, or your older ones out there in some cases as well. I think that's, Carrie?
Just want to let everybody know that Common Council did approve of the zoning code update, and it was published, so it becomes effective tomorrow. There will be an effective document that will be posted to the website, so if anybody has any, curiosity about what is in the new zoning code, that will be posted. We are going to be working, and I apologize that we don't have anything kind of in the hopper at the moment, but we are going to be working to update our FAQs and our brochures, just, some general information for the public in coordination with that zoning code update. Process will not change. So, anything that gets brought before the Plan Commission now will continue to be brought before the Plan Commission with very few exceptions. So that's something that will be unchanged. What will be changing are a couple of the dimensional requirements for zoning districts, and of course what the uses are and what the standards are. So encourage everybody to take a look at that document once it is up. Although the draft document that was approved by the council is up for review right now, basically what's going to be changing is it'll say adopted and effective. So want to get that out there, and if anybody has any questions, of course, planning staff will be on hand to answer those as best we can.
Thank you, Carrie, and that is hugely important. And again, we thank staff a lot. They put a lot of time and effort into this, almost 2 years going over it, but the commission did too. So commissioners, if you haven't been thanked, on behalf of myself, the entire staff and the Common Council, thank you for all the hard work going forward. Obviously not as fun as an egg hunt, but more important. So, with that, motion for adjournment.
Seifert moves to adjourn the meeting at 7:15.
And nobody knows what to do. Corella ain't here for the adjournment. Okay, is there a second?
Guzekowski, second.
Chris, you want to start us off?
Guzekowski, aye.
Hold aye.
Seifert, aye.
Sullivan, aye.
Kevich, aye. All right, thank you, everybody.